Well, the current life expectancy for Australians is 82.45 years of age, and we want to feel and look good for as long as we can. Good nutrition is key to this, and nutritionist Sarah Di Lorenzo is here to share her topics. How are you?
Hi, Warren. Very well, thanks.
We're getting very fussy, aren't we? 82.45.
Yeah, that's the average. Yeah, it's male and female average.
Yeah. Women live longer, don't they?
They do, generally.
So unfair.
They do, yes. I think it's only not too many years, maybe 5 years.
Yeah. So what happens when we age?
So when we age, basically it's the ageing process is a decline in functioning and an increased risk of getting disease. And the diseases are things like depression, cardiovascular disease, metabolic syndrome, arthritis, hypertension, type 2 diabetes, and those kind of things. But when you look at generalised ageing, the ageing process really starts around the age of 40. And it's things like cardiovascular system, heart gets larger, arteries become more stiff, bones, muscles, knees and joints, all those kind of, and tendons, they all become stiff, shortening, less sort of mobility and more rigidity. Digestive system's an issue, a lot more constipation with the ageing gastrointestinal tract. Wow. Of course, there's issues with bladder, so that often there's incontinence. And the other one really is memory impairment.
Yes.
So that's the big one, cognition. Yeah.
Which can be very sad in some cases. And of course, there's the hair. I can relate to that.
Yes, thinning hair loss. That all comes with...
Grey.
Yeah, grey. Well, the first sign of ageing is actually crow's feet. So once you start getting crow's feet...
Oh, is that around the eyes?
Yeah, that is the very first start of the ageing process.
Well, that was a while ago, let me tell you.
Yeah.
That was quite a while ago. Did you hear today, just as a side while we're talking about the hair, that Prince William has finally taken the plunge?
What's he doing?
He as we know, the royal family, males tend to not have a lot of hair.
No.
So he's just gone, okay, I've got to shave it.
Wow.
Now, he hasn't shaved it. But he's gone like a number one.
I think that's good. I think, look, in my personal opinion, I think that when men start balding, just take it off.
Yeah, well, I do a number two.
Number one, number two.
Yeah, I do a number two. So it's been a few weeks. It needs to go again. But number two.
I can see the fluff.
Yeah, I know. But that's why you have to do it. I mean, how ridiculous do you look if you just don't go with the fluff?
Well, you have to, but it's that comb over.
Oh, that's the worst.
Or the toupee.
Surely we've given up on that. You used to see it a bit. I haven't seen a comb
and then
over
the wind would come and it would flap up.
It looked like an eagle with a comb.
Yeah, it's
sticking
funny.
straight upright.
Yeah, how?
Anyway, we digress. What about when things do start to go south?
What do you mean? When
gravity.
So what, skin?
Yes.
Elasticity?
Yes.
Well, there's a lot of things you can do food-wise with it. I mean, generally everything's going to go south. It's just part of the ageing process.
Yeah.
So nutritionally, there's a lot of things we can do. And when I get people into my clinic and I look at an ageing program or a wellness program, it's generally about, I do things within the three sections. I'll look at, of course, the exercise factor. Definitely, of course, diet and lifestyle changes. So to discuss diet, do you want to go through a nutritional diet?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so the foods we eat, the general foods we eat when we're looking at, the top foods are, of course, blueberries. They delay aging. Dark chocolate, and go for the only like 2 pieces and maybe 70-90% for the magnesium and antioxidant effect. Of course, nuts prevent chronic disease. Handful of nuts a day. Figs are really strong antioxidants and they're really good for your gut. Protein's a big one. I could go into protein more. Protein is so important for the ageing process. Definitely, with every meal should have protein to prevent things like sarcopenia, which is one massive factor in the ageing process. And then, of course, mushrooms, antiviral, anti-tumour, antioxidant, and, of course, increase immunity. Salmon, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, slows the ageing process. Bone broth's really in fashion, Warren, and that's a big thing. Everyone goes on about it, but the good thing about bone broth is it's actually easily absorbed. Right. So, and it's got glucosamine in it, which is really important for muscle with
bone
joints.
Broth.
Broth, yeah, it's basically boiled up bones, and it's in a broth. But you've also, when you get it, you always need to get one that's been grass fed. So look carefully for that. Maca's a big one. So maca powder, you can throw that in your smoothies, and it's good for hormonal decline, balancing hormones, prevents osteoporosis, helps with menopause. Avocado, we all know the gorgeousness of the avocado, antioxidant rich, a healthy heart. Turmeric is another big one, anti-inflammatory. So So really, when you're looking at the foods and when you're looking at, it's all about prevention with nutrition with food and just slowing down the process as best as you can. And if you really do work at good nutrition, there's just so many factors, that you can do to improve general health and avoid all of those chronic diseases that plague society today.
What would be some of the signs or symptoms of you seeing somebody who's not aging well?
Okay, well, first of all, there's just general things like vision, loss of skin elasticity, hearing, those smaller things. But then when you start seeing people, even late 40s, early 50s, getting those things like high blood pressure, metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular disease, arthritis, osteoarthritis, they're all signs of poor aging.
Sometimes, I guess, we've got a bad genetic lot. That has to be part of it.
Look, genetics are 25% of the equation, and 75% is your environment and your lifestyle and your nutrition. So that's what we sort of call epigenetics. It's how things that will drive the aging process and chronic disease is all of those factors. So I think genetics really play about 25% in it.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I would have thought higher. So there you go. And how important is it that we adopt the best nutrition early on?
I think from 40, because basically sarcopenia, which is loss of muscle mass, which is the biggest factor, I think, in the aging process. If you think about, so as we age, our muscle actually gets replaced with fat, so we become marbled. But this is another big factor that I always, whenever I get people in my clinic, the first thing I do is I adjust their weight through a ketogenic diet. But you've got to be aged in a healthy weight, because if you're not doing a regular exercise and having a protein-rich diet, the muscle will fill in with fat, and if you can imagine, you'll get that osteosarcopenic obesity, which is basically, if you think of a skeletal frame with a lot of fat on it and no muscle to hold it up, that just drives inflammation. There's just so many factors that are dangerous for that. So an optimum weight is really important with aging.
Okay.
Definitely.
And we seem to not only weight, but our body shape changes if you're not careful, doesn't it?
Well, females go from a pear to an apple, and men generally go to apples as well. Yes, that's
particularly with Christmas.
But that's when men go through the andropause and women go through the menopause, it's the hormonal balance changes, and that's when we get into the dangers of cardiovascular disease, because it's that visceral fat, the dangerous fat, the fat that sits around our organs, putting pressure on arteries, causing things like high blood pressure. So that's therein it's important to have, I'm not talking about being a supermodel or anything. I'm talking about having a healthy weight range, good healthy BMI.
You hear so much about menopause. You never hear much about the male equivalent, do you?
No, andropause. I think it's something that you can, I think if you look at men aged 48 to 50, mid to early 50s, you can see see the changes as women you see, but men become more jowsy and their skin looks different. And I actually really believe that it's something that needs to be brought into the attention more of the public, because I work with post-andropausal men in my clinic, and it's something that it's not really talked about much.
If I went into a pub,
yes,
and I went up and said to some of the blokes, "You're post-andropausal," they would not have a clue what I'm talking about.
No,
neither would I 5 minutes ago, by the way. Just so we got that clear.
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking of doing a program on it. Actually,
you should.
Look, you know what? I will. I'm going to do a program on healthy male aging.
Andropausal.
Yes.
I want to Google that later. What about supplements?
Definitely supplements. Look, of course, protein powder. Because, look, I've got a little core 5 that I like to use. Protein powder, definitely, because it's important for, of course, sarcopenia and lots of other factors. Probiotic for the gut health. Definitely a fish oil, good for brain health, fights inflammation. Vitamin D, there's a lot of reasons for vitamin D, probably 15 or 20. The top ones would be obviously to bring calcium into the bone, support depression, give energy, fight fatigue. And the other one I like is vitamin K. So the vitamin K is great for bone health as well. So that's my core 5. But of course, with people coming in for individual programs, if they had other deficiencies, of course, you'd be factoring those in. Okay.
Now, what about exercise? How important is that?
Exercise is so important. I think and they say 4 lots of 40 minutes a week. I think 30 minutes a day. If you even just think of your heart, as you age, your heart becomes larger and stiff, and there's arterial stiffening, and as well just things like for cognition, for mood, for gastrointestinal health, to avoid constipation, and just general well-being. Yeah, exercise is really important just to take away that stiffness. And of course, to keep your body oxidized well, good oxygen flow, good blood flow, good cardiovascular support. So definitely exercise.
Okay. If I had to ask you what would be a great menu for one day
Okay, so
to age well,
yeah.
what would we be eating?
Well, of course, as I've said, so look, basically, let's just go through an actual day of food. Wake up in the morning, have a yummy chia pudding full of your omega-3s, have some berries on top. Mid-morning, have a nice good handful of mixed nuts, and lunch would be something like there's your cup of leafy greens with a piece of salmon. Go into the afternoon with maybe vegetable sticks with maybe a bit of cottage cheese with some turmeric thrown through it. And then maybe dinner could be some quinoa with a bit of organic chicken breast and that 1 cup of yummy vegetables. As well, the only fat that I like to recommend people in the aging process definitely is olive oil. And that's olive oil for everyone out there aging. Think of it, throw it over your food, in your cooking, bake with it, whatever you like. Throw it into a smoothie. Olive oil is the best fat for the aging process.
Okay, Sarah. Well, we're pretty much out of time there. We've covered a lot.
Yeah, we have. We have.
Sarah D. Lorenzo, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.